The first step to making all these towers is, of course, to make the main colors. However, since there isn't really any main colors, 2 of them have a similar brown, and all of them have the same lighter brown, tannish color, and the darker brown. They all also mostly have armatures, except for 2 of them. So I'm going to be making 4 of the armatures just straight off the bat, just so that I don't have to make a bunch of them later. I make all the armatures out of some paper clips and connect them in the center with some aluminum foil. Once all 4 of these are finished, because I'm making 4 of things that need them, I cover the first one in the original brown clay, and then I make a tail shape out of some extra wire that I have lying around, which is going to happen for the other 4 that have the armature. This gets shoved right into the area that a tail would be, and then made more permanent with some extra clay. Then I cover the body with another layer of clay so that it actually is the correct shape, as the first layer is just a base layer to give myself the ability to move around the armature. Once I have the body and the legs covered, I start making it a better shape, and also I cover the tail with clay. Now that I have the legs, the body, and the tail covered, I can make some feet. I just make 2 feet, and then I cut in all of the severed toes using a very sharp tool that I have, which I have cut myself on several times. Once the feet are finished, I can add in the little piece of tan on the torso and the balls at the top of the torso area. And then once I have all of that, I can add in the belly button. After this, I realized that I am going to need 8 eyes, as I'm making 4 monkeys and each of them have 2 eyes. And then I make the face in the same way that I make all of my balloons' faces, which is just a ball with a little indent in the front so that I can actually make a face with a second color. I then position the arms to the position that they're going to be positioned in, and then cut them to the proper size. Then I add in the face. This is the same color as the feet, the torso, and the arms. Well, the hands, not the arms. And then I add a layer of the darker brown around that with the little widow's peak at the top, and extra space for an extra dip where the chin is. And then that just covers the entirety of the face area, and then gets blended in to the other darker brown on the face. Well, the head, not the face. Once this gets blended in, I can push in the 2 eyes that this monkey has, and then surround them with some worms of the tan because these eyes were a little large. This will also happen for every single one, just like most of the steps in this. And then, as per usual, those worms get blended into the face. And once they're blended and smooth, I get to add the mouth. This mouth is on the opposite side that all of the other mouths will be. And then I add the pupils, which start with a dark brown eye, then the brown of the rest of the head on the bottom side of that, and then a small white highlight. This time it is on the right side of the head, but for most of them it's either on the right or left. It's kind of a 50-50. Then I make the ears by having a square of brown and a little bit of tan-ish in the middle, and then blend them to the side of the heads. Once those 2 are blended in, I get to reattach the head because you may have noticed that it is not attached anymore, and I need to change that. Now that the head is reattached to the body, I can add the arms. The arms are just similar to the legs. They're just coils of the darker brown that get blended into the body and then cut to the proper shape and then pushed out a little so that I can push in some arms and have the actual arms surrounding the hands, or at least the base of the hands. Then I make these hands with a little piece on the bottom to stick into the arm, a thumb, and then fingers cut into the rest of the hands. I make 2 hands, position them the way that they're supposed to be positioned, and then put them into place, fitting them in the arms, in the armholes. And then I make the dart that the dart monkey is holding. This is a black center, a little gray thing, and then some yellow thingies on the back. Then I add the dart monkey's signature haircut. This is just a few little spikes of brown clay, and then because I realized that it looked weird, I added some extra clay around the top of the head just to make sure that it looks right. And then I added a green grass base. Since I like to make all the bases look like they're in Monkey Meadows, I then added some sidewalk. This sidewalk then gets textured with one of my tools to make it look a little bit more like a sidewalk, and then it is done. Except for the fact that I forgot the eyebrows. Luckily, I figured this out, unlike the last one, which I didn't figure this out until editing it, and I get to start on the boomerang monkey. This basically just takes the same shape as the dart monkey, except now I'm using yellow. Now, at the end of the dart monkey is normally where I would end a video, but as you can tell, this video is not ending anytime soon, so I hope that you guys stay for the ride, because, this is gonna be a ride. Right there, I put the tail onto the boomerang monkey, because he needs a tail. And then I make the feet. Of course, the boomerang monkey is wearing clothes and still has fur, so the hair on the monkey's feet gets a worm around the feet, and then that gets pushed in. Now I add in the toes as well, just like I did to the original dart monkey, and then I add the clay for the tail and completely cover it in yellow. Once the tail is completely covered, I get to work on positioning the arms to the right position, which is actually just a similar position to the dart monkey, and then I make the head in the same way that I did originally and push it on right onto the body. Now this is where I am a little bit different. Instead of adding on the stuff on the front of the body before adding the head, I added it after. And it's just a red line. Then I added in the face, which is the same tan that it was last time, and some yellow in the same widow's peak, surrounding it with the chin being a little bit down than all the rest. It's just the same as it was last time, just exactly the same, except in yellow instead of brown. Pretty much, this is just the same as the dart monkey, except the brown is replaced with yellow. As you can see now, I am pushing in the eyes the same way that I did last time. I'm covering them in worms, the same way that I did last time. Now I'm covering the other eye with the worm, and now they're getting blended in. Although I'm pretty sure instead of making the mouth immediately, oh wait, no, I do make the mouth, except this mouth is on the other side of the face. Now I add the pupils, which are literally the same exact pupils. They're the darker brown with the lighter brown that was still used for the dart monkey in the pupil, and then a white highlight. This time, the white highlight is on the right side, just like it was last time. Now I add the ears, replacing the brown with yellow, but this time, I do something else. After blending both of the ears into the head, I add a little worm of yellow to actually make the tan and the yellow part stick out. I do this for all of the monkeys from now on. I just don't usually show it. And now I bulk up the forehead with some more yellow, and then start making the hands. The hands are basically the same as the dart monkey, just with yellow. And then the hands are made the same way as before, except, again, I add a worm of brown around the wrists because Boomerang Monkey is wearing a costume, and under the costume, the Boomerang Monkey still has fur, and I need to show that, so I added the brown around the wrists. Now that both of the hands are attached, I can add the line of red on the hat to signify that this is, in fact, a 0-0 dart monkey. A 0-0-0 dart monkey. I think I only said 2 zeros before. This worm of red gets attached and then pushed into the still unbaked clay so that it's pretty flat, and then I add in the eyebrows. Now that the eyebrows are on, I need a boomerang, because without a boomerang, this wouldn't be the Boomerang Monkey, now would it? This is a more orangish brown than the actual tan itself, with some of the normal brown getting wrapped around the two edges of the boomerang, and the orangish brown is a boomerang shape to begin with, I guess. I didn't say what shape it was. Now I get to add in the same green grass base and the same bluish gray bricks path thingies that get textured to make it look like Monkey Meadows, kind of, I guess. If you squint until, I guess it kind of looks like it. Now that all of these blocks are textured, I have to basically shove a paperclip into the boomerang and then into the head to make it look more in motion than I did in my original version. Which, if you compare the two side by side, the new one is a lot better. It actually has correct proportions this time. Now, for the first machine of the primary monkeys, the bomb shooter, which is incredibly simple. It's just a slight teardrop shape, I guess, for the actual cannon itself that gets pushed in with a few sizes of ball stylus until it has an actual hole. Then I have a medium-sized worm wrapped around the hole that it was just made. This then got blended into the rest of the cannon, I guess. I can't really say body. And then it just gets shaped until it looks like a proper cannon. I then push into the top to make an obvious seam between the bottom and the top, like a very sharp difference. And then I cut off the top because I felt that it was getting a little bit too large. Once that's done, I basically just re-flatten everything and then re-add the indent in the front for the actual bombs to shoot out of, even though there aren't any bombs because this is a model. And now that the cannon is made, I get to make the wheels, which is just coils that are wrapped into wheels, like full circles, and then just little balls with the sides pinched out, placed into the center. This gets shown right here, the actual process. This gets placed and blended into the center, then poked and pressed until it actually looks more correct, I guess. And then these get attached to the bottom sides of the cannon. And with that, it's time to make a base. The base is the same green with the same pathing that gets textured with the same tool. And now usually this is where some of my longer videos would end, but as you can tell, we're going for a lot longer. And you guys, there's a lot more. Next up, the only other machine in the primary tower group, Dack Shooter, which is just a pretty ovular shape that gets flattened on the bottom. And then as you can see here, I'm adding a bunch of cylinders to the sides, 8 to be more exact. And then I'm adding 2 worms of dark gray right on top of the different cylinders, and then right on the bottom of the tower itself. Then on all of these, I just flatten them down to make them not look like worms or coils. And then once they're properly flattened, I add a bunch of little circles to act as bolts. These get placed on both the top and the bottom, but for the second time I forgot to actually have it on the screen. And then I placed a little circle of dark gray on the bottom, and then I added a bunch of light gray cylinders and indented their fronts to actually make the shooters. Now that I have the actual tower done, I get to make the little design on the top, which is 2 nails. The nails in this version are crossed over in X's, and they just get made with a bunch of very small and thin coils, with them actually looking like nails, with the top parts being perpendicular. I make a base in the same way that I did the past 3 times, with the same green, the same gray, the same texture with the same tool that just gets smacked on there until the texture is textured. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. Next up, the next monkey in the group, because we're back to those as there's only 2 more left, the ice monkey. This is made with whites and blues, so none of the browns that I had before will be used. This gets a base layer of white, so that I can then move around all of the wire to the proper shape. Then I bulk up the body to make it its actual shape. The way that I make these monkeys at this point, I make them a little bit chubby, I guess. Right here, I add the legs in the same way that I've done the past 3 times. Then I add the tail the same way that I've done the past 2 times. It hasn't been 3 times, it's only been 2. Then I add the feet in the same way that I've done the past 2 times. Except these feet are blue. They, again, the toes get cut in with the same sharp tool that I've cut myself on several times. And then I add in the coil of white to cover up the tail. I am messing up all my words, but I'm only doing this in one take because insanity is fun, guys. Next, I do a large ball of white, this time not doing the indenting to the front of the face first, as that's continuously been messing up. Then I make the body, the torso, front, stomach in the same way that I've done the past with the original Dart Monkey. Just a base thing, 2 balls on the top, and then punching in a belly button. Then I add the same widow's peak, covering the front of the face with the lower indent, with the lowered chin that I've done the past 2 times. As you can tell, these are very similar builds. This gets blended into the rest of the white, and then eyes get indented into the face. Then, in the same way that it's happened the past 2 times, I add coils of, this time blue, around the eyes to make it so that the eyes are a little bit smaller. These coils then get blended into the rest of the blue, not the white. Don't blend them into the white, not a good plan. And then once the eyes are fully pushed into, fully like there, I add in the pupils this time instead of the mouth first. Pupils are just an even lighter blue with an even lighter blue in the highlight of the eyes, and then again a white highlight on the right side of the eyes. Then I add in the mouth on the same side that the boomerang monkey's mouth had it, on the left side. And then I added the new thing for this one, the little tufts of hairs under the chin, on the sides of the bottom of the face. These are 2 tufts of hair that get blended into the rest of the body. And then I add in another new thing, which is the tired eyes. This is a little bit of darker blue clay that goes over the eyes, and then the ears in the same way that's happened in the same color scheme. And then again, I do that thing I did with the boomerang monkey. Then I add in all of the hairs. This time I didn't bulk up the top of the head because I was getting tired of doing that. This is 4 hairs in approximately the center of the top of the head, and then they just get blended in. And then I add in the eyebrows. The eyebrows are the same light blue that are used originally for the pupils. And then I add in the white of the arms to do the same thing that I've done the past few times. There's just white arms. Then I make the hands out of blue this time, same way that everything else is gone. And then I cut in fingers. I push both of the 2 hands into the arms, cover them up with the white, a little bit on the wrists, and then I make the green base with the path. The path gets textured the same way that it's been textured several times before, and it just gets beat up. I just smack it. Now that one's finally done, I get to make the glue gunner, who has a slightly more red-brown than all the other ones do. This gets done in literally the exact same way that all of the other ones get done. The wire gets moved a little bit after the first layer of reddish-brown gets on there and hardens. Then I make the body in the same way that I've done before, this time adding the legs afterwards in another coil. This gets blended into the rest of the body. I then make the feet, cut in the toes beforehand, which I think is the first time I've done it in this video. Those get pushed in. Now, this monkey is a little bit different as it will be balanced on both the tail and the legs. This tail then gets covered with clay. Now that the tail is completely covered, I get to add the head. The head gets added in the same way with the ice monkey, with it not getting indented until it is fully blended into the rest of the body, and then it gets indented right here. The indent is so that I can actually push the eyes and the mouth into the face, and then I add in the belly in the same way that I've done before with the, I guess, somewhat teardrop shape. Then 2 balls at the top blended into the original shape and the belly button pushed in. Then the face gets pushed in, completely flattened, kind of. And then the same widow's peak, lowered chin, that gets blended into the other brown, but not the actual head itself. Except this time, it is again in the more red, it's more of a reddish brown. This gets blended into the rest of the brown, as I have already said before. And then the eyes get pushed in. These eyes get made smaller by the same worms surrounding the eyes, which I don't usually do, as I usually make the eyes the proper size, but these eyes are a bit too large, as I have also said before, because it's basically just doing the same thing. These then get blended into the rest of the face, and then, well, after I do all the stuff that is literally the same, there is some exciting stuff, trust me. Then I make the pupils with the same dark brown base, the brown from the original Dart Monkey, which I still have flying around. Then white highlights put on the left side instead of the right side. Mouth is also on the left side, similar to the highlights. And then, once I have all of that, I get to make the glue gunner squinting. Fun fact, I forgot the eyebrows on this one. Then I make the ears with the same reddish brown that I'm using for the rest of the hair or fur, I guess. Then this gets blended in. Same method of the worm as I used for the boomerang monkey, just not shown. And then once that's done, I bulk up the top of the head. And once that is blended into the rest of the actual head itself, I add the hairs. This guy has like 2 tufts of hairs that get blended in. And then I make the glue backpack. Then with the glue cylinder, I add a worm of the dark gray from the tack shooter all the way around with some light gray bolts this time, and then a little port for the little green wire on the bottom half, and then a lid with light gray. This then gets attached to the back of the glue gunner, and then with a little light yellow, it gets attached by a rope, because that's what it looks like it was attached with. So I just made it so that it was that. Now I'm making the nozzle, which is just 2 grass green pieces of clay in a somewhat triangular position, I think. Then the front one gets indented and placed glue inside of it. Then a light green worm gets attached to the bottom. And then I make the arms. The arms are just the same light reddish brown thingy that get blended in the same way it has before. Hands are literally exactly the same as they've been every single time. They get pushed into the arms, I guess. And then once that's there, I reattach the glue because I unattached it. And then I attach the hose to that little dark black thing. I attach the hands, and then it's done, I guess. Then I make the base, same way that I've always done, and I add in the gray things, except I forgot to record it this time, so now it's just done. because of the fact that I pretty much made 6 entirely different projects this week, I will not be doing the same next week. Expect a rather small video, hopefully next Friday. I'll probably try and move that back to the usual time.